Hey there, nation. Welcome to the show. We help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and it's time for another edition of Warhammer the Golden Age. This is battle report number 27. This is a 2,000 point battle that's fought between myself with my house stake here, the Golden Reavers of Skyros, which is my 2,000 point Dark Elves army, versus my buddy Odeth of the Legion of the Hellmouth with a 2,000 point Warriors of Chaos army. So it's been a while since we got one of these battle reports off, ladies and gentlemen. We've been gone for vacation, but now that we're back, we're really happy to bring these battle reports to you guys. And let's go ahead and get down with the army list. So from this point on, let's go ahead and talk about what we brought for this battle report. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about House Dakir. This is the Golden Reavers of Skyros. This is my 2,000 point Dark Elves army. For my Lord and Heroes choices, we have Beast Lord Midas Dakir, the Golden Lord of Skyros. He is a High Beast Master who's equipped with the Chill Blade and the Armor of Destiny. He's running on Kalibos, whose Manticore has the Ironheart skin as well as Blind Rage upgrades. Next comes Sister Sinner, the Oracle of Kos. She's a Supreme Sorceress, level 4 upgrade. She's carrying the Sacrificial Dagger as well as the Talisman of Endurance, and she's also using the Lore of Dark Magic. And for this one, she rolled for Power of Darkness, Shroud of Despair, Word of Pain, and Arenzapal's Black Horror. And then finally, for my hero choice, we have Captain Lodi Dakir, the Golden Sun. He is a master with the Battle Center Bear upgrade. He's carrying heavy armor and shield as well as a halberd and equipped with a Sea Dragon cloak, and he's also using the Crown of Command. For my core choices, we have the Sea Stone Sorrows, which are 37 Dread Spears with full command of the Standard Discipline, and the Morning Dawn, which are 10 Dark Shards with full command, and they're packing the Banner of Eternal Flame for some good old-fashioned flaming attacks. For my special choices, we have the Storms of Kos, which are 2 Reaper Bolt Throwers, as well as Virza the Broker, who's my War Hydra, who's also been upgraded with Fiery Breath. And then my last 2 rare choices, we have the Shacklemore Seers, which are 5 Doomfire Warlocks, and my mother monster, Rathric the Maw, which is my Charybdis. And that's going to round up my 2,000 point army for this one. Alright, let's talk about my buddy Odeth and his Legion of the Hellmouth. It is a 2,000 point Warriors of Chaos army. For his Lord and Heroes choices, he has Sekindri, the Apothecary of Nurgle. He is a Chaos Sorcerer Lord with level 4 upgrade, the Mark of Nurgle. He's packing a Giant Blade, Crown of Command, Chaos Familiar, as well as Scaled Skin, and he's also got the Lord of Nurgle for this battle report. For this one, he's carrying Curse the Leper, Rancid Visitations, Fleshly Abundance, as well as Plague Wind. Next comes Arbal the Destroyer, a Champion of Khorne. He's an Exalted Hero with the Mark of Khorne. He's carrying a Halberd. He's also equipped with the Charm Shield, Talisman of Preservation, and he's also riding a Juggernaut of Khorne. Next comes Akold Hellbrass, the Champion of Sneech. He's an Exalted Hero who's also a Battle Center Bearer. He's packing the Mark of Sneech. He's also got a great weapon, and for magic items, he's got the Enchanted Shield, Talisman of Endurance, as well as the Third Eye of Sneech. For his core choices, he has the Dustmen, which are 19 Chaos Warriors of full command. They're all equipped with Marks of Nurgle. They have great weapons and shields and carrying the Standard of Discipline, as well as the Storm Lords, which are another unit of 19 Chaos Warriors of full command. They also carry Marks of Sneech with halberds and shields, and they're carrying the Banner of Swiftness. And finally, for his special choice, he has the Nightkin, which are 5 Chaos Knights of Slaanesh. They got full command, Marks of Slaanesh, as well as Banner of the Eternal Flames. And that's going to make up the 2,000 point army for this one. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for deployment. As you can see, we are fighting on a 4x6 table, and I just want to draw your guys' attention to that massive, huge hill that's right there on the right-hand side of the board that pretty much makes up the center of the table. That's another wonderful terrain piece that was built by our terrain master, Iron Major. He built that one for us as well, so it's kind of a nice, really kind of cool, like, impassable terrain type hill where forces can't really climb up the hill. You can really only get on the top with either artillery or actually using flying units to get up there. So it's kind of like one of our latest additions to our terrain for this channel. Anyways, as you can see in this battle report, I decided to play on the near side of the board. My opponent Odeth to play on the far side of the board. I kind of went with a denied flank type of deployment for me. I kind of hugged my forces there along the left-hand side, so that way all my opponent can really do is come at me from the front or come at me from the right-hand side from my right flank. So because of that, I just kind of tugged up next to that hill. As you can see, my opponent's kind of spread out his entire army along a line formation right across from me in the battlefield. He's playing Warriors of Chaos. There's not much finesse required for them. He's got to try to get to you as quickly as possible and then try to engage you into close combat. So now that we're done talking about deployment, let's go ahead and talk about the individual areas and talk about where all the units are located at. Alright, so here's the left flank for my army, starting from the back and working all the way to the right. At the very back there we got my Storms of Kos. Those are my 2 Reaper Bolt Throwers, located there on the top of that hill. Right in front of them we have the Morning Dawn, which are my 10 Crossbowmen, who are also equipped with the Banner of Eternal Flame, and then right in front of them we also have my 5 Doomfire Warlocks. I haven't deployed them yet using Vanguard rules yet because I'm going to do it at the top of turn number 1. So that's a close-up on the left-hand flank. In my center line, I have my glorious Sea Stone Sorrows. That's my huge unit of 38 Dread Spears. This is great. This unit is awesome. I mean, they can do pretty much everything you need them to do. They can tap units, tar pit, suppress. These guys are absolutely vicious in close combat. And this unit, I also have my Master, which is a Lodi Day Cure. He's my Battle Center Bear. He's got the Crown of Command. So because of that, this unit is now stubborn. Also, they got wonderful reg bonuses, horde formation as well, so that way they can attack. And I also have my sorceress locating this unit as well. So that also gives this unit additional magical powers on top of that as well. So it's a wonderful unit to have. They got stubborn, they got reg bonuses, good discipline as well. Leadership 10, it's just awesome. Just a wonderful unit. So that's my center deployment. Moving on to my right hand flank. And on the right-hand flank, we have my Monster Mash. So we have Charybdis right there looking on the left-hand side. That's Wrathric the Maw. On the right-hand side, we have Virza the Broken. That's my War Hydra with Fire Breath upgrade. And behind the both of them is my General. That's Beast Lord Midas Day Cure on top of Calibos. He's got the Chill Blades who automatically wounds. He's also packing Armor of Destiny, so that way he can also get a good 4-up ward save as well as heavy armor as well. Just a killer group to have here. Have these guys stationed here so that way they can sweep on the right-hand flank and then slowly envelop my enemies in close combat. So that pretty much makes it deployment for the Dark Elves. Now let's talk about the Legion of the Hellmouth. Alright, so here's the right flank of the Warriors of Chaos. What we have here is that 5 Chaos Knights of Slanesh. These are guys of the Nightkin. They also got the Band of Eternal Flame. So that pretty much make up the right-hand flank of my opponent's army. I'm pretty sure just putting the cavalry there, just kind of put them right across from my fast cast, so that way you can try to intercept them. So that's the close-up on this side. Alright, so here's the center deployment for the Warriors of Chaos. Starting on the left-hand side, we have Arbal the Destroyer. That is the Chaos Champion who's riding of Khorne, who's also riding a Juggernaut. So he's kind of there to kind of cause problems. He's also cool with the Talisman of Preservation. So that way he's also got a 4 ward save. So very deadly guy right there. Luckily for me, though, he does have Frenzy. So if I do manage to get him out of his charging areas and get him kind of redirected the right way, I might be able to take advantage and take this guy out completely. Right there in the center, you have the Dustman. That's a 19 Yan unit of Chaos Warriors and Nurgle. They're all packing Marks Nurgle as well. In the front, you also have Sekenri, the Apothecary of Nurgle. That's his level 4 Chaos Sorcerer. And on the very far right-hand side, we have the Stormlords, which is a unit of 19 Chaos Warriors of Sneech. They're packing halberds and shields. And also right in the front, quick, we have Accold Hellbrass. That guy is the champion of Sneech as well. That's also his Battle Standard Bearer. So that's where the deployment is for this one. So with deployment done, let's go and talk about the top of turn number 1 after the move phase. Alright, so that takes directly to the top of turn number 1. We both rolled up for initiative, and I won the initiative on this part, so because of that, Dark Elves get to go first. As you can see in this photo, pretty much I just move up kind of gingerly towards my opponent. These guys are Warriors of Chaos, so I'm not in any rush to get into close combat with these fighters. They're very brutal close combat. My goal is to try to outmaneuver them, have them charge directly at my Sea Stone Sorrows, and then have them engage in close combat that way, and then have my, my Morning Dawn flank is one of his major infantry units. Say that my monsters have Wrathric the Maul or Virza the Broken run to the flank as well. And also at the same time have my Manticore riding General. Same thing with my Doomfire Warlocks having charge the rear flanks as well. So you can see in this photo, pretty much I just move out very, very slowly. I just move up my Sea Stone Sorrows as well as my Morning Dawn up the normal 5 inches. That way they're within, to kind of give something for my opponent to charge at. At the same time, I also Vanguarded up and also moved up 9 inches my Doomfire Warlocks. I put them in close proximity of the main line of the Legion of Hellmouth because I'm planning on spamming that spell Soul Blight with the most dice as possible, try to get the big one off, so that way the entire army has -1 to their strength as well as to their toughness. So that's pretty much the plan going on over there. Also on the right hand flank, I have my monsters Wrathric the Maw and Virza the Broken take up flanking positions on the near side of the hill, so that way they can charge the right hand flank of any chaos units that engage my Sea Stone Sorrows. And also on the top of the hill, I also marched my general, having flew over directly to the top of that hill, have him take position right there amongst the trees, so that way he can kind of scoop in from behind and engage from the rear. So that's pretty much makes up movement for my army for turn number 1. Here's a close-up of my Shacklemore Seers within shooting range of their magical spell for Soul Blight against the Nightkin. Like I said before, my goal is to get off that massive spell of Soul Blight, so that way everything within 24 inches of me, for my enemy, will suffer -1 to their strength and their toughness. So that makes it the close-up on this one. And here's a close-up of my monsters, as well as my general ganging up flanking positions on the other side of that hill. So that way when the infantry units march past them, they can flank them into the right-hand side. So that pretty much makes it move phase for this one. And since move phase is now over, we go directly to the magic phase. For the most part, most of my magic phase was kind of a wash. However, I was using the remainder of my dice to get 4 dice back, so that way I can spam my Soul Blight spell. Luckily for me, my opponent fell for my bait for the very first part of the magic phase. He's using a lot of his magic dice to dispel Doom Bolt, same thing with Power of Darkness, so that way I wouldn't get any more magic dice or add +1 strength to my Dark Elves. He also fell for me using the Word of Pain, even though I wasn't really in range of using that one, so because of that he uses dice to dispel it. So whatever happened is I managed to use the rest of my spells, the rest of my power dice to cast off the enhanced version of Soul Blight to get off all the strength and toughness bonuses. So you can see there all the yellow dice behind the Nightkin, as well as Arbol Destroyer, as well as the Dustman. All those guys that have -1 to their strength and -1 to their toughness. Same thing with the Stormlords. It was absolutely glorious. The only problem, though, is that I had an overwhelming power when I basically rolled the dice. As you can see, I rolled these 4 dice. I got 3 6s as well as a 4, so I automatically miscast, and that was absolutely terrible. But luckily for me, I don't really have to roll the miscast chart for these guys whenever that happens. Instead, what happens is that the unit suffers D3 wounds, and then I get to use ward states to kind of drop it off. So I got really lucky on that part. I lost one guy in the process of doing so, so now this unit's down to only down 20% of his strength. I had to take a panic test, but lucky for me, though, they passed their panic test without any kind of additional worries about that. And that pretty much makes up my magic phase. So with magic phase over, we go directly to the shooting phase. And in the shooting phase, I managed to take out 5 members of the Dustman as well. I did a combination of shooting with my Morning Dawn as well as the repeater shots from my Reaper Bolt Throwers. Managed to take out 5 of those guys in the process because these guys are now strength 3, and I'm firing at basically strength 3 for my getting a 4 up for my crossbows and a 3 up with my multiple shots. I figured why not, and plus they have armor piercing shots as well. It was kind of lackluster. I wanted to hope for more for the shooting phase and blow these guys a little down more than they could, but you know what? That's 5 less Chaos Warriors I got to worry about, so I'll take what I can get. Since nobody's engaged in close combat, we skip that phase. We go directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for the Warriors of Chaos. Alright, so this is the bottom of turn number 1, directly after the movement phase. As you can see, pretty much Odette just sends his forces moving as quickly as he possibly can towards me. He doesn't really march any of his military forces except for his Nightkin. He takes his Chaos Knights. He originally tried to charge them originally, but because they were heading towards my Doomfire Warlocks, but because I wasn't going to plan on engaging in close combat, my guys fled as a response to that. So you can see that my Doomfire Warlocks are kind of skirting off on the left-hand side there. So because he couldn't charge because nothing was within range, he just marched them forward and got them kind of so located that way, so that where they're at now, so that way they can flank into my left-hand side of my Morning Dawn. At the same time, he also marched up his champion on the Juggernaut. That's Arbol the Destroyer, moved up as quickly as he possibly could too, because that guy wants to charge directly into my Morning Dawn. His other 2 infantry units, the Dustman as well as the Stormlords, which are carrying his Battle Standard Bearer as well as his level 4 Wizard, they move up kind of gingerly, only moving up 5 inches. And I think the reason why is because Odette sees what I'm trying to do with my monsters, trying to get him to flank, so he's not ready to commit yet either. So he's just kind of biding his time, trying to figure out a game plan or to get rid of my monsters. So that's pretty much makes up the move phase for turn number 1 for the Warriors of Chaos. Here's a close-up of the Nightkin trying to charge at my Doomfire Warlocks, but marching up instead, so I'm going to do something really quick about those Chaos Knights, because those guys are brutal in close combat, and there's no way that my Dark Shards can survive against that. And here's a close-up of his infantry units, as well as Arbol the Destroyer moving up closer to my Sea Stone Sorrows. So that pretty much makes it move phase. Unfortunately for my opponent, his magic phase is absolutely terrible. He rolled a 1 and a 2 for his magic dice, and I actually channeled additional dice on top of that. So I managed to dispel all of his spells. He didn't really have a chance. And since there's no shooting, because he plays a Chaos army, and there's no close combat, that pretty much makes up turn number 1 for the Warriors of Chaos. So that being said, we go directly to turn number 2. Alright, so this photo is taken directly after turn number 2 after the movement phase. So you can see from much of my movement, not really much happened either. A couple things that basically happened. I kept my infantry units, my Morning Dawn, as well as my Sea Stone Sorrows exactly where they were. Like I said before, these guys are Warriors of Chaos. I'm not looking for to charge these guys at all in close combat. What I want them to do is to come after me, so that way they can kind of fall into my trap where I can envelop them and then get them surrounded and destroyed at the same time. However, I did march 2 my units. I did march up my Doomfire Warlocks. They both passed their leadership test. That's why they kind of swooped right past them. They did a quick reform right behind them, so that way they can cast another version of some spells at my opponents, so that I could cause some harm that way. At the same time, on the right-hand side, or sorry, not the right-hand side, on the very far back of the board, you can see that I marched up my general, Beast Lord Midas Daycare, as well as Kalibos. I put them directly behind the Stormlords. Like I said before, my plan here is to have my opponent charge at my units directly, so that way they're engaged in close combat, and then afterwards I can flank his infantry units with my monsters on the right-hand side, as well as the rear with my general on his Manticore. So that's pretty much the plan I'm kind of going for, because if I get engaged with these guys, because they're so high strength, high toughness, I'm going to need all the monster support I can when they get into close combat as well. And so I'm also sending my Doomfire Warlocks, the Shacklemore Seers, to their locations, that way they can spam some some hexes and cause them to get a little bit weaker. Maybe Doom Bolt somebody off of the table if I'm really lucky enough to do that. So that pretty much makes a move phase on this one. Here's a close-up of my Doomfire Warlocks and where they're situated at. They can either use Doombolt or cast off the large version of Soulblight off, so that way I can cause some more damage for them and also make everything one point less in their strength as well as their toughness. So that's pretty much the plan that I have going on this side of the board. And here is a close-up of my General Beastlord Midas Day Kier as well as Kalibos. Take a position behind these infantry units so that way he can charge into their rear. So with Moon over, we go directly to the Magic phase. And in the Magic phase, I absolutely dominate on this one. Once again, I also cost off the huge version of Soulblight. Got -1 strength as well as -1 toughness to all my opponent's units. So that's why they all got those little yellow dice with the 1 behind them. Unfortunate for me, though, in order to get that spell off, I rolled 3 6s and a 2. As you can see, I rolled 3 6s and a 2, so that basically caused me to roll on the miscast table. And just like last time, all I had to worry about was taking D3. However, when I rolled my 6-sided die to figure out exactly how many wounds I took, I actually rolled a 6, so these guys took 3 wounds. But luckily for me, I passed 2 of my ward saves, and it would fail my 3rd one, so now my Doomfire Warlocks are now only 3 strong, which is kind of rough. But at the same time, though, this unit's designed to do like kamikaze moves like this to get behind enemy locations, so that way they can spam them with Soulblight as well as Doombolt. But, I'll take what I can get at this point. For the rest of the Magic phase, I cast Power of Darkness off in order to get +1 strength for my Dark Elves. But the main reason why I also want to get that spell off as well is because, as well as getting +1 strength for the unit that my caster is in, I also get D3 extra spell dice in order to use for my next casting. The only problem, though, is that if I roll a 6, which is basically this case, which is 3 power dice, which I generated, I also take a D3 wound in this case. So because of that, I managed to save 2 of my wounds with my Talisman Endurance, but 1 slipped through, and so now my Sorceress, she's only carrying 2 wounds now in that part. But you know what? It was well worth it because I got additional spell dice for my pools to use in the Magic phase. And the reason why that was important is because I got off the big spell of Word of Pain off on the Dustman as well. So that was a boosted version of Word of Pain. And what that does, it gives you D3 to their weapon skill and ballistic skill, but also their strength as well as their initiative. In this case, I rolled a 5 on this one. So because of that now, so not only are these guys -1 strength as well as -1 toughness from the Soulblight spell, but now they're also -3 on their strength as well as their initiative. So now they're down to 1 initiative, 1 strength. The weapon skill is down by 3, so now their weapon skill 2. And same thing with their ballistic skill, so now their ballistic skill 1. Which is not so big a deal on the ballistic skill since these guys don't shoot. But now this unit has been pretty effectively neutralized. They have no high strength, no high toughness anymore, so they'll be able to take out when I use get them in close combat if they get engaged with me. So that part was absolutely awesome on that part. So with Magic phase over, we go directly to shooting phase. In the shooting phase, I combined fire with my Morning Dawn as well as one of my Storms of Cost using repeater shots, and we opened up on the Nightkin. We managed to kill 4 of those guys and only leave 1 behind. Unfortunately for me, I could not use a panic test on this unit because they have Marks of Slanesh, so they're immune to panic, as well as taking break tests. So because of that, that guy is going nowhere. So, but then again, there's only 1 Chaos Knight left over, so I can deal with 1 Chaos Knight. I mean, that's not so bad. And then finally, I used my last Storms of the Cost to do a repeater shot onto the Dustman as well. Managed to kill 4 of those guys off outright as well. So now this unit has been pretty much dropped down in half, which is pretty good because this unit is the one I fear the most in close combat because of the strength bonuses they get from using their great weapons, and also the -1 to hit in close combat because they have Marks and Nurgle. But now this unit has been chopped down in half pretty much, and they're now been totally neutralized because their strength and their toughness and their weapon skill is now so low. It's pretty much easy for me to take these guys on a combat. So that part was pretty epic. And since there's no combat phase for my turn, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 2 for the Warriors of Chaos. So there's a bottom of turn number 2 after the movement phase of the Warriors of Chaos. And as you can see in this photo, pretty much everything that can charge forward does. My opponent, Odette, just commits all of his forces and charges them directly into close combat. He's pretty much betting big in order to win big. He realizes that if he just keeps on inching towards me, I'm just going to keep on shooting as well as magicking his army off the table. So he decided to take a chance and charge everything while he still can. So as you can see in this photo, he takes the remaining Nightkin of his Chaos Knights as well as his Khorne Champion riding on top of a Juggernaut, charge directly into the Morning Dawn. At the same time, he sends both his unit of Dustmen as well as his second son, sorry, not his second sons, his Stormlords directly to the Sea Stone Sorrows, and those guys are now engaged in close combat, which is pretty good because if we manage to stick it out and he doesn't manage to break me, that'll put him in a perfect lineup for me to have my monsters charge into his right-hand flank for the Stormlords, and I also can send my General as well as Kalibos into the rear of this formation as well. And at the same time, I've really needed to, I could also send my Doomfire Warlocks into the rear of the Chaos Warrior Cavalry as well to help out my Morning Dawn. I'm really worried about the Morning Dawn losing this fight because if they manage to get destroyed or break, my opponent will overrun clearly and then charge directly into the Storms of Kos. Hopefully he won't roll high so he gets stuck out in the open so that I can shoot him off the table, but you never know. I mean, Chaos Warriors are absolutely deadly in close combat. So that pretty much makes up the movement phase for turn number 2 for the Warriors of Chaos. Here's a close-up of that remaining Nightkin as well as Arball the Destroyer charging directly into my Morning Dawn. So that close combat's going to be kind of brutal because Dark Shards aren't usually all that good against this kind of odds. And here's a massively huge close-up of all the Chaos Warriors are taking out my Sea Stone Sorrows. So you can see on the left-hand side, I got the Dustmen with their Chaos Sorcerer Lord in the front rank, engaged in close combat. And I also got that huge unit of Sneech Chaos Warriors armed with halberds and shields directly on the other half of my unit of my Sea Stone Sorrows. So with movement out of the way, we go directly to the magic phase. During the magic phase, my opponent Odeth managed to get off the spell Fleshy Abundance, and he managed to put up a 5-up a 5-up regeneration save on both his Dustmen as well as his Stormlords. And the reason why the Stormlords took up the 5-up regeneration save is that, yes, they do get a ward save because they are Sneech Chaos Warriors, but they only get up a 6-up ward, so it wasn't really going to do much good. They actually have a better chance using their regeneration save instead. So he managed to get those spells off, no problem. He also managed to put a 5-off regeneration spell onto his Nightkin, which is one remaining Chaos Knight on the left-hand side. Arball the Destroyer, of course, declined the offer of using the regeneration save, and the reason why is because he has a pretty good ward save with his Talisman of Preservation. So with Magic Phase over, we go directly to the Combat Phase. And the combat phase is absolutely brutal for my opponent. I mean, all those hexes that I managed to put off, as well as busting my guys, really paid off dividends. So starting on the left-hand side, my Morning Dawn had no problem whatsoever killing the last of the Nightkin, so that guy was pretty easy to kill. However, against Arball Destroyer, none of my guys can inflict any wounds on them, so because of that, they couldn't do anything on that part. Arball the Destroyer, he managed to kill 3 of my Morning Dawn, but that's because he just absolutely flubbed his rolls. This did an absolutely horrible job, rolled a bunch of 1s and 2s, and so because of that, not much was actually really done towards my for my Morning Dawn. Luckily for me, though, we came down to the break test. I did lose by 2, but because it was such close proximity to this unit with my Battle Center Bearer, I was able to re-roll my leadership save. So the first time I rolled like an 8, these guys would have broken, but because I was near the Battle Center Bearer, I got to re-roll my saves. In that case, I rolled like a 3, so those guys were going nowhere. So I got really lucky on that part. So now my Morning Dawn can hopefully last another turn, so that way I can take him out with either my Doomfire Warlocks or my General. The real combat, however, took place here in the center portion. Originally, my opponent issued challenges because he has to, because he wears a Chaos Army. So his Sorcerer Lord, he issued a challenge against my Master, which was my Battle Center Bearer. We engaged each other in close combat. At the same time, Alcohol Hellbright also issued a challenge as well. I declined with my Sorcerers and used my Champion instead to step up and to fight him in close combat as well. Needless to say, the combat between the Champion as well as Alcohol Hellbright is absolutely brutal. He only managed to inflict 1 wound, however, which was enough to kill the Champion, so he did win that duel. However, his Chaos Sorcerer Lord absolutely did nothing. It was just the fighting between these two was absolutely atrocious. I couldn't inflict any wounds on him. He couldn't inflict any wounds on me, so that fight absolutely went nowhere. However, the big part that really made all the difference was the close combat between my Sea Stone Sorrows, which were my Dread Spears, against his Chaos Warriors. The reason why that was important is because for his Dustmen had received so many hexes against them that their strength was only at a strength 1, and their weapon skill was reduced to 2, so they were trying to struggle to hit me. And at the same time, they had to wait till I went. At the same time, my Sea Stone Stars were at strength 4, so they were pretty strong at that point, so they had no problem whatsoever inflicting some wounds on that. We managed to kill something like 6 Dustmen out of the entire scuffle by the time that got done, and they only managed to kill, I think, 2 or 3 of my Dread Spears in response. At the same time, the close combat between the Stormlords as well as my Sea Stone Sorrow, I managed to kill 4 of his Chaos Warriors. He only managed to kill 2 of my Spearmen as well, including the Champion as well. So when it came to break test time, I think I won against the Dustmen I think I won by 5, and I won against, I think, I think I won against the Storm Lords by like 4 or something like that. So when they kind of rolled for their break tests, they fled. It was no problem whatsoever. Those guys both ran away. The Storm Lords ran away 8 inches, and the Dustmen ran away 9 inches, I believe. So because of that, they were totally out of league. They just kind of ran away. The only guy I got left behind, however, was the Sorcerer Lord, and the reason why is because Sekinri, the apothecary of Nurgle, was engaged in a duel with my captain, so because of that, the two of them are still engaged, but the rest of the infantry units are fleeing, which is awesome because when my turn is up next, and if I can charge with both my monsters into those units, I have no problem taking those guys and overrunning and destroying those units completely. So that was pretty much the combat phase. It was absolutely brutal, ended up being a victory for yours truly on that part, so that part was pretty cool. So with combat phase over, go directly to the next turn for the Dark Elves. Alright, so this is the top of turn number 3 after the movement phase. As you can see in this photo, I just sent my monsters charging to those units. I sent Rathric the Maw after the Dustman, as well as Virza the Broken against the Stormlords. Had no problem charging those guys and also overrunning them as well, so both those units are now DRT because they managed to take those guys out no problem. I overran them as well. At the same time, I also marched up my general with his Manticore as close as I possibly could, so he's right there at the base of that tower. At the same time, I also marched up my Doomfire Warlocks for my Shackle Morseers. I had them kind of lined up there on the left-hand flank there to get ready to charge at Arbol the Destroyer, as well as his Chaos Sorcerer Lord in the back. So now he's only got 2 characters left in this entire army, and I'm getting ready to charge him and take him out into action for my next turn. Here's a close-up of my monsters getting ready to charge into the rear of both Arbol the Destroyer as well as Sekinri, the Apothecary of Nurgle, so that part's kind of neat. And here's a close of my Doomfire Knights, Doomfire Warlocks getting ready to charge into the left-hand flank of Arbol Destroyer, and I also have a close of my Sea Stone Sorrows taking on Sekinri, the Apothecary of Nurgle. At this point, my opponent kind of looks at the table and realizes that all he has left are 2 characters, and he pretty much calls the game at this point because all he's got left is a Sorcerer Lord as well as a champion against the rest of my army, and he kind of knows he's not going to win anyways. So that pretty much does it, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, there's still a lot of Dark Elves left at the table, not so many Warriors of Chaos. That's going to do it for this one. We're going to go on to the After Action Report because this battle report is now officially over.
Sure, I could have stayed in the past. Could have even been king. But in my own way, I am king. Hail to the king, baby.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for the After Action Report. This is the part of the battle report we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time that we do battle. This is the After Action Report for Warhammer the Golden Age, battle report number 27. It was a 2,000 point battle that was fought between my House Daykeer, the Golden Reavers of Skyros of Dark Elves versus my buddy Ode Death of Legion of the Hellmouth with his Warriors of Chaos army. Let's go ahead and talk about the losses. For me, I didn't lose really anything in my unit. I lost a couple of guys throughout my army, but not any one unit specifically, or character for that matter. For my buddy Ode Death, he lost Alcold Hellbrass, the Champion Sneech, the Nightkin, the Dustman, as well as the Stormlords. So it ended up being a victory for yours truly. Let's go ahead and talk about exactly what was the case. First of all, Magic dominated this game. It was because of the Magic phase I was able to defeat my opponent, especially the spells Soul Blight, Word of Pain, as well as Power of Darkness. If it wasn't for those 3 spells, this battle could have gone completely different. First of all, these spells allow me to weaken my opponents in the shooting and combat phases, so that way I can engage them in close, long-range attacks and win those guys and kill characters at the same time. At the same time, it lowered my enemy's weapon skill, so that way it made it more difficult for him to hit me, but it made it easier for me to hit him. And same thing with their strength. Their strength was really weakened on this part, so they couldn't inflict as many wounds as they wanted to. But my wounds were higher. My strength was higher, so I was able to inflict wounds upon them as well. So it really helped me out in the combat phase. If it wasn't for those spells, this battle would have turned out completely different. Another thing that really helped me out as well was outmaneuvering my opponent with my fast cab. That allowed me to get Soul Blight off so quickly against almost all of his troops because I was able to kind of like find the holes in his formations and his lines and kind of slip through with my Doomfire Warlocks and then get that spell off as well. So very, very worth the points. If you're not playing Doomfire Warlocks or Dark Elf Army, I'm not sure what you're doing. You need to grab a bunch of them. Also, charging the fleeing units with my monsters is another reason why I love the monsters in this list. They're very fast, very aggressive, and because those guys were fleeing and I overran them, I just absolutely destroyed them, so that part was pretty good as well. Shooting was pretty good in this battle report as well. It was pretty decent. I killed a lot more Chaos Warriors than I thought I was going to do when I came to my shooting phase, and that's because I kind of weakened their toughness, and that made them easier to wound as well, so that part was kind of nice as well. Once again, can't stop enough talking about those buffs and hexes for those spells that really helped me in this close combat phase. And like I said before, before. If it wasn't for the magic, I would never have won. Another thing that also could help me out as well was Odeth moving his forces all at once against me. He just sent everything in charging in one giant tidal wave of troops come my way. It was a big risk for him, but at the same time though, if he was able to break my units and cause break tests and then overrun them as well, this battle could have completely gone the opposite way as well. I understand why he charged all his troops in. It's because if he didn't, I was just going to shoot and magic him off the table. So, he had to do what he had to do in order to defeat me. So, luckily for me, his gamble didn't work out, but at the same time, it could have gone a totally different direction as well. Once again, he is a great opponent. I love playing against Warriors of Chaos, and I'm looking forward to another one. Also, ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Your input is always appreciated. I like going on the back and forth and answering you guys' questions. That part is always nice. Also, if you get a chance, check out our Google Plus page as well as Instagram for all the latest information about what's going on for our hobby. That's going to wrap it for this one, you guys, for Golden Age Battle Report number 27. You guys stay classy. We will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.